pause it. And then just make it a big screen. Okay.
Angela.
Hey, Randy, how are you?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I've got my husband Ray here too.
Hey, Randy.
Hi, how are you?
Good, doing well.
Good, good. Also, guys, say hello to John Lee. He's sitting here. Oh, I'm not my video. On 1 second.
All right, I'm just reminding everybody.
There you go. Say hello to John. John is
Hey.
a UBA that's just here spending the day with me and getting started.
Hey, John.
Okay, so while you're waiting for people to join, I'm going to click off the video for a second, make myself a cup of coffee. I'll be right with you, okay?
Oh, we just did that.
Yeah.
Do a new member orientation, and then I can provide this link to you to follow up with these folks or with whomever. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
Okay, good. So I'm going to push record. Request, record. Oh, you're the ones that got to push record. I forgot. We're in your meeting.
I'm already recording. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let me first remind you of the proper procedure in advance of the new member orientation. It's a little bit dark, isn't it? I don't know how to turn on the lights. My wife does the lights, so we'll just deal with it. The proper procedure in advance of the new member orientation is to remember that typically in the pre-enrollment process, before I enroll a new person, as part of that educational format, I send the 10 steps to getting started. The reason that I do that is because I remember when I was first introduced to the industry of direct selling, I went to a presentation and I had every intention and a desire to do it. But all I heard people discussing is what the business is. And I heard absolutely no discussion about what I would have to do to become successful in the business. And so it wasn't actionable for me. I couldn't act upon it. And I actually went to 2 or 3 presentations. And finally I pulled the top leader aside and I said, look, somebody's got to tell me how to do this, because simply telling me all this stuff about what it is not actionable. And so finally I found that person. Because that was my experience, then since that time, I have always made the new member orientation a part of the evaluation process for a new member. So before they ever join me, most people have watched those 10 steps to getting started correctly. Now, when a person gets to the point of evidencing real interest and suggesting they may want to enroll or they want to enroll, then I send the same link again, or if they've already got the link, I ask them to view it again, because you'll view it differently as one who's decided to do the business than you will as one who's considering the business. So now I send the link the second time. When we finally do the new member orientation, then people are hearing this material for the 3rd time. And so there should be absolutely no surprises, and people should be prepared at the time of new member orientation to take each one of those required steps. And notice I said required steps to get the outcome we want. And I'm sorry, sir, your first name was?
I'm Ray.
Red?
Ray.
Ray. Okay, so Ray. When I spoke with Angela, I think this is the first time you and I have talked, or maybe we were on the phone, but I spoke with Angela a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me the size of her income goals and objectives. She wants to make a lot of money at this. She wants this to be a primary income generating source. Okay. So if we're going to cause this to become a substantial source of income, then what we have to do is engage in what I've long described as a proven, predictable pattern of activities, which results in the 3 following things. A rapid flow of distributor applications, lots of people joining your business. It results in the vast majority of those people placing what is for him or her an appropriate initial order. And it results in everyone who joins you making not just a passing, but a long-term commitment to auto ship. And then it demands that that person become a participant in the building of the business, not an observer to that. That's why it demands that people host private small group presentations or home business reviews. If they don't do those things, then it's like they're riding on the bus, and there's no problem finding bus riders. We need to find bus drivers. And one does not learn how to drive the bus by riding it. One only learns how to drive the bus by grabbing the wheel and pushing on the accelerator. So we go through the new member orientation with specific goals and outcomes in mind. When a person has already reviewed that link twice before the new member orientation And now this is view number 3. The way that I describe it is if you can help it, then you help the video. If you're brand new to the industry, and you guys are not, but if you're brand new to the industry, then you let the tool do all the talking itself. A brand new member, you could meet with a new member today. As a brand new BA, you could watch steps numbers 1, 2, and 3. And if you can't help the video, you could then push pause and take the required actions. You can help the video, and I'll describe to you how you help it. Step 1 is not just to enroll in Kannaway. Step 1 is to enroll in Kannaway and to create for yourself mental and emotional barriers of exit. If you were acquiring or starting any other business, there would be a capital cost involved. Let's say we're going to open a little Chinese restaurant. You had to put up $200,000 and I had to. We signed leases. We hired employees. We bought kitchen equipment. If in 6 weeks our business was bad, would you quit? I wouldn't. I got $200,000 on the line. And so I wouldn't quit. What I would instead do is say, what's not right? Is it dark in my parking lot? Are my hours not right? Is my staff not courteous? Are my restrooms not clean? Do I have to do something? What do I have to do differently to succeed? In network marketing, people talk often about the advantage of there being no barrier of entry without realizing that that very advantage brings along with it an equal offsetting disadvantage. If there's no barrier of entry, there is no barrier of exit. And so, because if a person joins our company and acquires the largest product pack, it's still basically no money. And when I say that, I say it with awareness that for a lot of people, $2,000 would be a real stretch. But still, in the great big broad scheme of things, as compared to any other business, it's no money. And so there's no barrier of exit. There's not a financial barrier that says I can't afford to quit. Since we don't have a financial barrier, we have to create a mental and emotional barrier. And that mental and emotional barrier is unique and it's personal to you. So when you do a new member orientation, just as I will now describe to you my mental and emotional barriers of exit, you need to be able to describe your mental and emotional barriers of exit to someone else. And so for me, I want you guys to ask yourself this question and contemplate it a little bit. I want you to imagine you're living my life right now. I earn over $200,000 a month in Kannaway. I live in the house that I want to live in. I drive the car that I want to drive. I have assets that are well invested. How hard would you work? Would you work really hard if you had that? Or would you just live? I think the truth is most people would not work very hard if they had the exact circumstance that I have right now. And yet I work as hard as any Kannaway brand ambassador that I know. Why is that so? It's because I have mental and emotional barriers of exit that are big enough that they cause me to act when it's inconvenient and when sometimes I'd rather not. And I always share mine. Mine are, it's just too dark here. I gotta turn a light. I don't know why. Darkness in this room. Samantha, turn.
Just so you know, there's 3 other participants on the call here.
I see that.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure why it's so dark. That's getting worse.
Who's on?
I want to live in, but I do wish it had some more lights. I'm not going to worry about it too much.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And so I don't know why it's so dark in here tonight. But anyway, my mental and emotional barriers of exit are that this life that we live, Samantha and I, she and I have been married for 3 years. And the life that we live is principally funded by things that I did before she and I ever met. And though it may not make sense to anybody else, I really, really want, when the final chapter is written on my career, I don't want people to think of Randy Schroeder. I want them to think of Randy and Samantha. That's what I want. That's important to me. And that's one of the primary reasons that I push myself today, way after I think the vast majority of people would have checked out. They got what they wanted. The next one is that my life experience is just my life experience. But the single greatest years of financial success that I've had were when I was just buried in drug addiction. And the 3 years when I earned the most money, my biggest income years, over $3 million per year, were 3 years when I was in either a rehab, a jail, or a prison. And I'm not very happy with that version of me. That's a long ways in my past. But I want to prove to me, not to anybody else, that I can have my greatest success with the current version of me, which I do like, not that version of me. So you see, those things are personal to me. They may not resonate with anybody else, but you're going to have something that is personal to you also. Or I promise you that it will either be that you'll stop staying the course way short of your goal because you get comfortable. People reach a point of financial satiety much more quickly than they might think. Most people who tell me with their lips they want to make $1 million a year tell me with their actions that 150,000 was fine because they stopped working after 150. Right? It's one thing to say with our lips what we want. It's quite another to have a mental and emotional barrier of exit that causes us to continue working when the financial pressure is off or when we have overcome whatever the immediate challenge was that caused us to say yes to the idea. And I can tell you right now that it would be an extraordinarily unusual person who would make $1 million a year at this, which Angela, you told me was your stated objective, be a highly unusual person who would accomplish that minus some very tangible and specific mental and emotional barriers of exit. And so I encourage you to identify what they are. And then every time you do new member orientation, you share them with somebody else. And then you set in a process. You set up a process of replication and duplication. Step number 2. And so at each step of the way, I want you to ask yourself as we go through this, have you done that? If you can say after every step, I've done that and I am doing it, then I will tell you that you're prepared to succeed in our company. If there is any step that I describe that you cannot say, I have done and am doing that, then I will also tell you in the most kind, loving way that you've not yet made yourself eligible for success in our company. Step number 2 is to place what is for you an appropriate initial order. An appropriate initial order is one that considers your goal, your financial circumstance, your willingness to work, proper business building and duplication processes and standards. There is one reason and one reason only to not place an order for a total product experience pack. And that reason is if it's not financially prudent for you and your family. That's the reason. I don't want anyone to ever place an order they can't afford. But if it's financially prudent to do so, then I would just ask you guys a common sense question. Do you suppose you can as adequately represent a product that you've never seen, touched, tasted, felt, and used? Can you represent that as well as if you have seen, touched, tasted, felt, used, and experienced? Just common sense, isn't it? And so I'm not suggesting that everyone buy a total product experience pack. I'm suggesting that everyone buy the largest appropriate pack for him or her based upon financial circumstance and goal, so they get a chance to experience as wide a cross-section of the product offering as they can. I mean, just imagine you've got a group of people now, your group is growing, and you've got 250 people in your group. Imagine the difference in outcome if out of those 250 people, 80, a third, have acquired a total product experience pack, and so they have the experience of using everything in the product line. 80 have acquired a junior executive pack, so they've used a third of the products, and the other 80, because it was prudent for them, acquired a starter pack. Now compare that to the situation where all 250 of them acquired a starter pack. The ultimate outcome would not be remotely close to the same, would it? I mean, it's just common sense. It wouldn't be close to the same. A properly constructed organization will be what I just described. 1/3 starter pack, 1/3 junior executive pack, 1/3 total product experience pack. And there is no reason to ever enroll a person who does not place an order at the time of enrollment. There's simply no reason to ever do that. That sets in motion the fast start clock starts ticking at that point in time. You're not only not doing someone a favor when you enroll them without placing an order, you're actually putting them under the gun, because almost no one who enrolls without placing an order ever takes action in the business, and yet they've now got this 30-day clock ticking on fast start. And so we are doing people a disservice. If a person wants to enroll and they're not yet prepared to place an order, then the right thing for me to do as their sponsor is to tell them that is not in your best interest. And when it is financially prudent for you to enroll and place an order, that is when you should enroll. It is not a good idea for them to enroll without placing an order. And so your role as a responsible sponsor is to simply not have that happen. Just don't allow that to occur, because it will not grow a business. So that's step number 2. And once again, when we look at your organization, when there's 100 accounts in it, I will feel like we're appropriately doing step number 2 if it's 1/3 total product experience packs or senior executive, 1/3 junior executive, and 1/3 starter pack. If that's what it looks like, then we're effectively executing step 2. If everyone is buying total product experience packs, then I know that someone is too aggressive a salesperson, and some people are buying that who can't afford it. That's wrong. If everyone is buying starter packs, then I'll know that we've just defaulted to what is the easiest but least effective thing, and that's wrong. And if people are joining without placing an order, that is doubly wrong. So that's step number 2. Step number 3 is to realize that in order for us to give people legitimate opportunity, we have to be completely candid and truthful with them. We tell people they can be part-time and make money in this business. I'm willing to bet you've already told people, give me 10 or 12 hours a week and you can make money in this business. Well, I will now tell you, if you don't already know, that minus a solid commitment to SmartShip, part-time people will not make money. It's just the truth. They will not make money. And when people join you, I always just tell people the raw, unvarnished truth. The unvarnished truth is that if we're giving a relatively small commitment of time to the business, then we need to make sure that all of the time that we apply to the business is an investment of time, not an expenditure of time. And a solid commitment to SmartShip is what guarantees us that part-time people can make money. It's what makes it true that the income takes on a life of its own and can become permanent. It's what makes it possible for us to have a dramatic breakthrough in financial success. Going back to Angela's earlier thought that she'd like to make $1 million a year. Angela, among the things that will be required is that 90% of the people who join your business, 90% click on SmartShip with a commitment to it. Not just a casual click on with the idea, I'll click off if it doesn't work. In every business, there is overhead. Going back to my Chinese restaurant example, if we opened one, we'd have overhead. We would rent, we would have. In our business, we have overhead. And part of the overhead is SmartShip. Now, the good news is the company sends us products, but we have overhead. And if we, in any business, if we don't meet the need of overhead, does our business stay in? No, it's gone. The same is true in our company. If our organization is not solidly rooted in SmartShip, then I will promise you right now that the people you enroll will not have the financial outcomes that they want. And if the people you enroll don't have the financial outcomes that they want, then the laws of the universe guarantee that you won't have the financial outcome that you want. And so SmartShip is absolutely mandated. You guys, you've watched the video by now and you know. The reason that I was once able to sell a distributorship that I had built with the help of other people for $7 million. I had 68,000 people on SmartShip. And I could prove to the investor that my efforts were no longer required to create that income. That's what makes it an asset. That's what makes it a business. You know, the network marketing world is completely full of hobbyists. And hobbies don't make money. Hobbies cost money. Right? Hobbyists in network marketing don't make money. They spend money. And it's only people who treat it the same way they would treat any other business, acknowledging that there are certain boundaries and borders I have to put around overhead items. There's some basic truths. And if I fail to act upon those truths, then I'm a hobbyist and I won't make money. Step number 4 is, and by the way, I have no clue if you folks, either you, Angela, and Ray are on SmartShip, or if the other people on here are on SmartShip or not. If you're not, then I just described you in all the most loving ways as a hobbyist. Okay, love you. I think it's great.
I'm on it.
Okay, good. All right. Step number 4 is none of us really want to be a customer service agent. I don't want to be a customer service agent. And if we give the assignment at step number 4 to click on every single link in the back office, every one, then your brand ambassador will find the answers to the questions that they would otherwise have to ask you. If you don't give that assignment, then you can count on them calling you and asking you, I'm interested, Angela, in opening one of these business-to-business accounts. How do I do it? Well, if they've already clicked on that button, they know how to do it. And if you've clicked on the button, then you can choose to answer or not, because at least you know the answer. If you haven't clicked on the button, you don't know the answer. And so I just give the assignment for every new brand ambassador to click on every single link that's in the back office. There's a reason for every one of them. None of them are there by accident. And so if you, Angela, and Ray have not clicked every button yet, click every button. And when you do a new member orientation, we watch step 4 and we give the assignment to click every button. Step number 5. Nobody ever really asks me my retention strategy. And I think that's a question people should ask. And there are really a couple of contributing factors to my retention strategy. The first one is at step number 5. I live in Southern California, and it's a sunny, beautiful climate. It's also a dry, arid climate. If I were to put a bucket full of water outside on my deck, even if there's no hole in the bucket, in about 3 days, the bucket will be empty. Why? Because it evaporated. Well, we all have a belief bucket. And the reason that this business is so easy for me, it's spontaneous, it's effervescent. It never feels to me like I'm working. It never looks to someone else like I'm working. Why is that? It's because my beliefs are so high in a few key areas. The first belief I have is that the end of the prohibition of cannabis is one of the most important cultural shifts in our society for the first 70 years. And every day I do something to add a drip or two to my belief on the end of the prohibition of cannabis and our company's unique role in it. That's easy to do. I spend a few moments each morning and I do a quick scan of a few media groups that watch cannabis, and I see what's going on around the world, and it always further edifies my beliefs in who we are and what we're doing. I have a really, really deep belief that our compensation mechanism is the best example of how to correctly and properly split income among people at the top of the plan and the bottom of the plan, and those at the bottom who want to go to the top, and everybody in between. In order for one to build their belief in the plan, they need to understand it. And so until one understands it, I think it'd be a really good idea to watch at least one of those 9 different comp plan video segments that are in your application. To watch one of those every day would be a really good move to build that belief. One of the areas where I find that I'm quite different from almost everyone is that I'm very intentional on what I see and what I read and what I hear. And so part of my morning routine, it's I do have a routine. And part of my morning routine is that almost every day, it's not every day, if I've got a super morning flight or something, but almost every day, I start my day by watching something that gets my, what I call vibration level to the point that I want it to be before I interact with other people. So for example, I'm a horse racing fan, and it doesn't matter if you're a horse racing fan or not. But if at the end of this session, if you were to go to YouTube and watch the 1973 Belmont Stakes, I believe that at the end of that, your energy level would be higher. You'd watch Secretariat make the most astonishing performance ever by a racehorse. I mean, he set a record that day in winning the Triple Crown that has never even been approached since then. And it is stunning. I don't care if you've never seen it before, if you've watched it 1,000 times, if you watch it now, your energy level will go higher. And I don't just mean that nervous energy, I mean your whole psyche will shift in a positive way. And if your psyche shifts in a positive way before you talk with a candidate, you'll have a different response when you talk with that candidate. Again, I'm a horse racing fan, and so there's a collage that the greatest thoroughbred horse probably of all time, not just a single performance, was named Zenyatta. And this is much more recent. It was only 10 years ago. Zenyatta won 19 races in a row, and she always ran from behind. If you were to, that particular collage is 9 minutes and 34 seconds, I think. But if after this you were to go to YouTube and put in Zenyatta 19 wins, you could then watch Zenyatta win from the back of the pack 19 times in a row. And it is thrilling, and it will cause your energy level to go higher. I can do the same thing by watching Michael Jordan's greatest buzzer beaters. I can watch Larry Bird's greatest passes. I can watch Jack Nicklaus's greatest tournament winning shots, and on and on and on and on. And I do that every morning. It only takes me a few minutes. I mean, my morning startup routine is about 20 minutes. But before I interact with people, my energy level's at a point, and compare that, by the way, to the fact that most of the people I'm interacting with just watch either Fox or CNN for 20 minutes, and they're mad. You know, my psyche's in a completely, totally different space than theirs is. And so I get a completely, totally different outcome than most people get. Not so much because of more skill than they have, but because of what my attitude and energy is as a result of the way that I start my day. That goes to my belief in what? It goes to my belief in myself and my ability to accomplish the task at hand. So I have deep belief in the end of the prohibition of cannabis and our company's unique role in it, in our company, in the ownership, in the officers and directors, the management team. Maybe most importantly, I have deep belief in my own ability to successfully do what's required to make this a real win for me and my family. Now, one of the things that I pose to people all the time is this question. The things that I've described to you so far, do they take skill? No. Do they take talent? No. What is the only thing they take? Willingness. That's it. Just willingness. If one is willing to do the things that I've described so far, you're halfway home. Took no skill, took no talent. It took no more knowledge than I've just shared with you. And the truth is that the vast majority of people who get involved in any direct selling company don't succeed, not because of any flaw in the company, but because they didn't do that which was required to succeed. In our particular case, I believe that people can succeed more quickly in more broad fashion. I believe they can have long-lasting success, the uniqueness of who we are. But the truth is that I'd earned $30 million in network marketing before I ever found Kannaway. You know, long before Kannaway came into my life, the industry itself had provided for me an unbelievably successful life and career. The things that I'm describing to you are what's made it possible for me to succeed when I didn't have the best product offering, when I didn't have the greatest compensation plan, when it wasn't a management team that I had the right kind of relationships with, and so on and so on and so on. These are things that work, period. They work better and faster for a wider variety of people when they're acted upon in Kannaway. So step number 5, I referenced my retention strategy. My retention strategy is to give you an assignment to watch one or more video every day for the next 100 days that furthers your belief in one of the areas that we've talked about. Some of those videos are only 2.5 minutes long. Some are 3 minutes long. Some are an hour long. But you can find them on my Facebook video page. There's always a library that is constantly updated. You can find them on my website training page. And everything I do, by the way, is free. There is no tool that I create that I sell to you. There's nothing that I charge for. I create it because I think it helps you. It's all free. If you watch one video per day for 100 days, I'll give you a 100% chance that we will be in business together 100 days from now. 100% chance. And a person who doesn't do that simple thing, which requires what? No skill, no talent, no money, and no knowledge beyond what's been delivered right here, there's a far, far, far less chance, far smaller chance that they'll still be here 100 days from now. And the real issue, and you know this, Angela, you've been around direct selling and network marketing before, the greatest risk of fallout is almost immediately. A person joins and doesn't even start, right? Mm-hmm. And so this simple assignment of doing something to grow belief and to stay in the game for the first 100 days can be the difference in a successful career, and a career that didn't even start for lots and lots of people. Step 6 is initially to understand that there's a big difference in the simple activity of writing down a list of names and creating a candidate list of people that you'll invite to your home for your first home business review. That's a simple activity. Anybody can do it. That is different than learning to so live our lives so that our candidate list grows in front of us. So consider my own experience. I've now been full-time in direct selling for 29 years, and I've been in Kannaway for getting close to 3 years. And so surely in that period of time, I've called everybody I know, right? I mean, I can't have this circle of influence that would be that deep and that broad. Surely by now I've called everybody. And yet I'm among the most prolific enrollers in the whole industry, in the world. And so it's a simple activity to write down a list of names, and it is a skill to learn to so live our lives so that our candidate list grows in front of us. And at the new member orientation, all we have to do is focus on the activity of writing down a list of names. Just write down a list of 20 people, that's all, just 20 people that you can invite to your first home business review, your first 2 home business reviews, or private small group presentations. And I want to make sure that you understand the candidate that I would like to have come to any new member's first home business review. And by the way, people fight me and fight me and fight me and tell me all the reasons they don't want to do this. Well, if you want my outcome, do what I do. Now, if you don't do what I do, then I don't know what your outcome will be. If you want my outcome, then do what I do. In direct selling, you'll oftentimes hear people, they'll deride this shape, this pyramid shape, and they'll say that it's bad. It's not bad. It's almost a perfect structure. They've been standing in Egypt for 9,000 years, properly built. You cannot knock it down. What the vast majority of direct selling people create is not a structure that looks like this. They create instead a structure that looks like this. Very, very, very narrow pinnacle of leadership right down here that can never support the huge number of people that are dependent and reliant upon them. The basic leadership development process in all direct selling companies, it has always been this way, and I don't believe it will ever change, is when a person stops being an observer and they become a participant. You can gain knowledge by listening to me or another leader speak, but you will never develop a skill by listening to me speak. You'll develop a skill when you open your home and conduct your first home business review. It is a leadership development process. And if that leadership development process is short-circuited, then what you wind up are thin organizations where you don't have multiple generations of new tiers of leadership being developed. And by the way, I don't impose anything on anybody. What I always tell people is, if what you're doing right now makes you happy and it's producing the outcome you want, then keep doing that. But if any step of the way you find out that what you're doing is not producing the outcome you want, then know that there is a proven and predictable pattern of activities where there is no luck and there's no guesswork, and every single blade of risk has been removed, taken out of the equation. And one of the things that I find fascinating is if I were to, right now, if we could all be transferred to an area where a fresh snowfall had just fallen. There's 5 feet of fresh snow, and it's just soft powder. If there were 2 deer coming across the field, the second deer would be far more intelligent than almost all humans, because she would know that if she was 1 foot outside of the track of the first deer, it was the very same as if there was no track. And she would follow exactly in the path of the one who had gone before. Unfortunately, humans don't do that. Humans flounder and flail and wallow around, and every once in a while they cross back and forth across the path. What I suggest, and by the way, I'm not suggesting that if you're in the path, it'll be absolutely easy. Walking through 5 feet of snow on a path is still walking through 5 feet of snow, but it will be much, much easier than breaking your own trail. And so what I always invite people to do is recognize if you're walking through your own path and it's not very easy, realize it is easier to get on a path that has been beaten down for you. And what I'm describing to you is a path that has been beaten down for the last 29 years. In fact, it had been beaten long before I got on it. For one to successfully conduct a home business review, I want you to be aware of who the candidate is that I want to have in attendance. It's someone who knows and loves the host or hostess. I don't care if they join the business. This is a complete misunderstanding. People believe that they're going to conduct their first home business review to enroll a bunch of people. If someone happens to enroll, that is a happy side effect. The primary purpose was for my new member to have the experience. That was the purpose. And so therefore, there can be no failure. If the primary purpose was to enroll people, there can be all kinds of reasons that doesn't happen. But if the primary purpose was to have the experience, then it's a win, no matter what. And I want those people in the room to be the same people you could call and say, listen, at about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to jump off a cliff. It's going to be 12 feet. We're going to land in a pile of sharp rocks. I know it'll hurt, but can I count on you to do it with me? We've all got a few people who will do that with us because they love us. Those are the people that I want in that first room, because I want you to be able to stand in front of them with a piece of paper and your hand shaking a little bit if you're nervous and say, this is the first time I've done this. I'm not entirely comfortable. Thank you for being here. I'm going to go through a process that's going to help me learn, and maybe you'll learn some things too. I want to make it that easy. And now, if a person has watched the video segment that is entitled Home Business Review Basics, and if they've watched another entitled HBR Format, then they will know specifically and exactly how to conduct that first home business review. And and by the way, if you'll recall, Angela, in our very first conversation, I said, I'd like to come. I offered. I said, let's go. I'm offering again. Let's go. You guys haven't quite taken me up on that yet. So if and when we do that, what you'll discover is that it is easy. It's easy. And it's pleasant. And not one person who comes ever wishes they had not. Ever. Not once. And what people see is this is something that I could do too. And oftentimes people are surprised because, among other things, I'm a speaker. And sometimes I talk on stages in front of thousands of people. And so people are surprised when they see that I do a home business review and I push play on a series of videos. Why? Because I need evidence for that next person in the room who has never done anything like this before, that he or she can succeed by pushing play on the same videos. And so it is an eminently replicatable, not threatening, and easy process. It's always pleasant, always. It's never unpleasant. And for some reason, people want to resist. But there's no reason to resist it. It's easy, it's never unpleasant, and it creates a leadership structure. That is the outcome. And if we create a leadership structure, then we make money. Step 8 is to teach. I'm sorry, I skipped past step 7. That was important. Step 7 is to learn how to invite. Many, many years ago when I was being trained, and I was trained by some of the most gifted people in the industry, huge earners. And one of them's name was Nathan. And Nathan told me, he said, Randy, there will be no more important skill. In fact, he said the most important skill will be for you to learn how to invite. And these years later, I believe that Nathan was wrong. I believe that there are 4 skills that are of equal importance, because if I don't learn how to grow a candidate list, if I don't have a candidate, it doesn't matter if I know how to invite, does it? Mm-hmm. And so the skill of knowing how to so live my life so that a candidate list grows in front of me is of equal importance. If I don't have a candidate, then knowing how to invite is useless information. If I have a candidate list and I know how to invite, but I've never learned how to successfully present the business in a fashion that can duplicate, then it's still useless information. And if I have a candidate list and I know how to invite and I've learned how to present the business, but I don't then get distributors, brand ambassadors started correctly in a universal new member orientation, then it's still useless. And so I believe that there are 4 skills. There are 4 revenue producing activities, and there are 4 skills tied to those revenue producing activities. And they are each of equal importance. Learning how to initially create a candidate list, but then extend that thinking into learning how to so live our lives that our candidate list always grows in front of us. That's a revenue producing activity. When I add to my candidate list, that is a revenue producing activity. When I invite someone using a properly constructed script and then let a tool talk, that is a revenue producing activity. When I present the business in a fashion that can duplicate, that is a revenue producing activity. when I do a new member orientation in a universal language. That is a revenue producing activity. Those are the only revenue producing activities. There are other things we could do and should do. Those are the only ones that make money. So those are the 4 revenue producing activities and 4 associated skills. And then step number 9 is to teach a new person how to effectively conduct new member orientations. And just as I propose to teach new people how to present the business in a fashion that can duplicate by doing it with them. And I want you guys to think about this for a second. When I talk about the business, the industry of network marketing, having about it a certain benevolence and inherent goodness. Here's an example of it. Though you guys haven't taken me up on this chance yet, is there any other industry, even one, where a person who is at the pinnacle of it, and I am at the pinnacle of it and have been for 2.5 decades, is there one more industry where the person at the pinnacle of it would buy his or her own airplane ticket and at their own expense come to your home and teach you how to do it for free? Is there even one more way where that would happen? The answer is no. There is a benevolence and an inherent goodness to what we do. And the biggest reason for my success in it is because I believe what I just said to be true. This is a good thing. It is a worthy endeavor. It is good for other people. That was true before I was involved in Kannaway. That is true of the industry when it's done right. Now, when we lay Kannaway over the top of that, then that just magnifies it and multiplies it. Step number 9 is to teach new people how to successfully conduct new member orientations. And just as I propose to teach new people how to do the business, how to present it by presenting it with them, I propose to do your first new member orientations with you. I mean, there's no reason for me to believe that a brand new brand ambassador could be as effective in their first one of these sessions as I can be. And so why would I allow the effectiveness to go down? And so whenever I enroll a new person, I always want to be involved in the first 3, the first 4. We both know when I don't need to be involved anymore. We both know. You don't need me. It's evident. It's obvious. And step 10 is to simply take action. Is to apply steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 and host the first 2 home business reviews in the next 4 weeks. Now, for anyone, whether it be you, Angela and Ray, or Tammy, or whomever the other names are that are on here, if you cannot right now tell me what step 7 is, what is step 3, what is step 4, what is step 5, how do you execute it, you're not eligible to make money in our business. That's the truth. You've not made yourself eligible to make money in this business if you don't know those things. If you know what every one of those steps are and you know how to execute them, then you become eligible to make money. And after we start, and remember, all we're doing now is the basic starting process. Once we have a person started correctly, then we get the chance, because they're making money as a result of starting correctly, then we get to shift our thinking from this very most basic startup program into a leadership development process that goes on and on and on and never really reaches its conclusion because we never arrive at the top. We are still always striving to learn, grow, develop, and become more. So in its simplest form, briefest recap, step number 1 is not just enroll in Kannaway. It's enroll in Kannaway and create for yourself a mental and emotional barrier of exit and share that with others each time you do a new member orientation. Step number 2 is to place whatever is for you an appropriate initial order. A healthy organization will have 1/3 starter packs, 1/3 junior executive, and 1/3 senior executive and total product experience packs. That'll be a healthy organization. Step number 4 is to give the assignment to review every single link in the back office. Step number 5 is to build belief in the various areas, most importantly in yourself. That's the most important one. And I believe that step number 5 is also key. Step number 5 is also key to a retention process by giving a simple assignment to watch 1 video per day for the first 100 days. Step number 6 starts with the simple creation of a candidate list to invite to the first 2 home business reviews, and we then teach the strategies and processes to grow a candidate list after we get past those first 2 home business reviews. Step number 7 is to learn how to invite, and this then goes to the second part of my retention strategy. The retention strategy is listen to the invitation every single day for the next 90 days. It's watch a different video every day for 100 days, but listen to the same audio every day for 100 days, 90 days. Maybe either 90 or 100. I usually go 90 days on the invitation because it's the same one, 100 different videos you can watch. You never have to watch the same one twice. Now, the reason for the 90 times in 90 days, if right now we were to pipe into this session a new piece of music that none of us had ever heard, and we heard it one time and never heard it again, If in 90 days from now we were gathered back together and someone said, well, can you tell me the name of the song? No. Remember the beat? Remember the melody? Remember the context? No. If on the other hand, you heard it every day for the next 90 days, you'd be humming it when you wish you could get out of your mind. And what that does is prepare you for the opportunities that emerge every day. Every single day, opportunity presents itself. And one who has learned how to invite doesn't miss the opportunity. They know what to say and what not to say. It's immediate. It's on the tip of their tongue. Now, I often pose the question to people, how good do you want to be? And how good do you want to be? I will tell you that I want to be the best that is humanly possible for me to be at this, my chosen career. I want to be better than I am today. And I feel that today I'm better than I was yesterday. I want to be better. I want to be as good as is possible. If you want to be as good as is possible, then I think it makes sense to not just listen to the invitation 90 times. And by the way, my suggestion to people is to listen to it once a week and pay attention. The other 6 times a week can just be background noise. You're driving the kids to school. You're on your way to your other job. Whatever you're doing, it's just back there. You're just hearing it, maybe not even knowing it's playing sometimes, but it's just playing. It sinks in, I promise you. But then along the way, if again, I pose the question, how good do you want to be? Well, along the way, what I suggest you do is look at your candidate list and then imagine, okay, so here's this candidate list. And the first person on it is Mary. And Mary, I see in the car line every day dropping the kids off at school. Whatever. Look at the candidate and imagine the relationship. And then with a handheld recording device, having listened to the invitation over and over and over and over, imagine the interaction when you see Mary and say what you would say. And then listen and see if you would act upon that. Did you sound confident? Were you appropriately? I mean, I will tell you this, a calm, poised enthusiasm is more attractive than the super overblown excitement that sometimes a calm, poised enthusiasm of what we're doing. How did it sound when you listened to it? You know, I was coached, Randy, the reason that people don't take the actions that you want them to take is because you talk way too fast. I mean, today, my pace of delivery is slowed down so dramatically from a decade ago that when I listen to who I used to be, I am today unrecognizable from that. Because I was told, Randy, you talk too fast. And as a state of my involvement at that point in time, and I still talk too fast now for some people, but as a state of my evolution, the first time somebody told me I talk too fast, I said, no, people listen too slow. And that was my opinion. But now, what I know now is that I was talking fast enough that I was losing the attention of some of the people, that I sounded frenzied, and that my pace of delivery made me sound less confident, not more confident to many people. And so I wanted to improve. My question to you is, how good do you want to be? I want to be as good as I can possibly be. If you want to be as good as you can possibly be, then hear what you sound like to other people. And that will give you that which is measured can be improved. When I first got in the network marketing industry, the person who was coaching me said, Randy, I challenge you to do a home business review every single week for the next 52 weeks. Well, I did. Now, when I say that, my mind is magic. My mind tells me I did it every week. In hindsight, I'll bet that on Easter week I didn't, and I'm pretty willing to bet that on Christmas I didn't. But my mind tells me I did it every week. I'm sure that I did it more than 90% of the weeks. And a few things happened because I knew that my Tuesday night was going to be dedicated to it every week anyway. Well, that resulted in me being more aggressive in creating a candidate list all week. I knew my Tuesday night was going to be given up. And so that meant that I worked harder to have a candidate list. It meant that I offered more invitations. It meant that I did more things because I knew I was going to do it Tuesday night whether or not anybody showed up. There were lots of weeks when no one showed up. When no one showed up, I set up the recording device and I recorded the presentation so that I could then watch and I could see what other people were seeing. And by the way, I still do that. That is a pattern that I've never stopped. So much of what I say and do now is captured on video or on audio. And once per month, I have Samantha scan all the various social media pages, YouTube and everything else. And I get a cross section of the various things I did in that last month. And I watch and I listen to see if there's any pattern. Sometimes I find myself, you'll see me, I stand in front of the whiteboard and I'm twisting this stinking pen like this. It looks like I'm trying to wring its neck. It drives me nuts. And so I know it must drive other people nuts. Well, if you watch 6 months ago and compare it to today, I twisted a lot less. Okay, the point is that I watched to see what is this new pattern. That wasn't in my world 2 years ago. Somehow this new thing crept into my pattern that drives me nuts. And so it must drive others nuts too. And so I constantly watch to see what thing has crept into the way that I'm presenting myself that is getting in the way of the way people are perceiving the business. Once again, you don't have to do any of these things I'm describing to make a few dollars in Kannaway. The truth is you can do almost nothing well and make money in Kannaway because of who we are and where we are. And in fact, I'll tell you again, I've never met a single person who has done that which is required to succeed, but done it poorly and therefore failed, ever. Not just in Kannaway, in my whole business world. It's not about doing anything especially well. It's about doing enough of it. If you do enough of it, then the people who are looking for what we've got are going to sift through all the stuff and find what they're looking for. But if we don't do enough of it, then we won't find the people who want what we have. And Cicero said many years ago, the skill to do comes from the doing. And so if we do enough of it, then by definition, we'll someday do it well. At any rate, step one, don't just enroll in Kannaway and create a mental and emotional barrier of exit and share it with people. Because every time you share it with people, it'll remind you. Don't just create a mental and emotional barrier of exit and then forget about it. I remind myself every single time I do a new member orientation why it is that I stay at this at the pace that I stay at it. Step two, place an appropriate initial order, a healthy organization, 1/3 starter pack, 1/3 junior exec, 1/3 senior exec, and total product experience packs. Step four, recognize that SmartShip is a mandate, period. And we will not create what we want to create minus SmartShip. That is simply the truth. People in your group won't make money. Step four, give the assignment to chase the rabbit down every hole. Step five, watch a video every single day for the next 100 days to build your belief. Step six, first, create a candidate list. Second, extend that into learning how to grow the candidate list in front of you. Step seven, master the art of the invitation. Step eight, learn how to present the business in a fashion that will duplicate. Step nine, do new member orientations in the universal language. Step 10, take action. There you go. That is the roadmap, and it is a road well mapped. That's what works.
That's impressive.
Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Let's see. I'm going to see if anybody has questions here. Hi, guys. I'm unmuting you. Does anybody have a question for Randy?
Okay. Everybody, I want you all to know whether or not you know this to be true. I do know it to be true. You can do this. You can.
You got to understand me.
Awesome.
Whatever your set of talents are, they are sufficient to be refined into the skills required to do this. So I know that I'm happy to help.
Al, I know you're on. Do you have
Okay.
a question for Randy?
No, I don't. But it was an impressive presentation, and I really appreciate the time.
Very good. Thank you all, folks. Have a wonderful evening, okay?
Thank you so much, Randy. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.